What's up, guys? It's Ja Lord. I am back from my hiatus. However, I would like to talk about a very important and a very touching subject right now. So yesterday there was another school shooting, this one at Great Mills High School in Leonardtown, Maryland. This one really hits home for me because not only is this in my home state, but this is in my home region too. So basically what happened was that this 17-year-old student went into school with a gun, shot his ex-girlfriend, and the bullet ricocheted off the ex-girlfriend onto another student. The ex-girlfriend is in critical condition in the hospital, last I heard, and the other student who got shot was in good condition. And the female student who got shot currently has a donation page for her recovery. And the perpetrator got shot by a security guard and later died in the hospital. So my first thought when I heard about this incident was, please don't let it be somebody with Asperger's, because I have Asperger's syndrome, and whenever somebody with Asperger's commits a violent act in this country, the news outlets will immediately point the finger at video games, anime, certain movies, certain music genres, and so forth. They did that with the Columbine shooting, they did that with the Sandy Hook massacre, they did that after the Parkland massacre. And now, after the Parkland massacre, Donald Trump is going after the video game industry, which I think is BS, because millions of people play violent, sexy video games, watch anime, listen to certain music genres, watch certain kinds of movies, and don't go out and do this stuff. Plus, Canada, Europe, the whole rest of the developed world has access to the same kind of mass media that we do. Some of them have different rating systems, some legally enforce it, others don't. But the point of the matter is, the rest of the developed world has access to this kind of mass media, yet they don't have school shootings, violent crime, astronomically high rates of rape and sexual assault like we do. Pointing the finger at video games, anime, movies, music, books, etc., all that does is deflect away from the root causes of mass shootings and violence in America, such as the fact that we can't get sensible gun legislation passed, the rampant bullying and abuse that school children face on a daily basis, both at school and at home, toxic masculinity, income inequality, which is a really big one and probably at the root of a lot of different problems in our schools, and the fact that we have a serious mental health crisis in this country. So, in my opinion, income inequality is at the very root of a lot of problems in this country. Not just with the school shootings, but with lots of different problems. But unfortunately, I feel that any gun control probably won't work, because any kind of gun control, like the gun buybacks that Australia did back in the day, any kind of gun control will be enforced by a justice system that's rooted in white supremacy and will be paid for with the blood of countless black and brown lives, while the groups responsible for the most school shootings, like white males, will probably be the least targeted. Another thing about the Parkland shooter, aside from the fact that he had Asperger's syndrome, was that he was a member of this really bad group called the Republic of Florida Militia, which basically wants to convert Florida into this all-white Aryan ethno-state, and by white they mean Anglo-Saxon, Germanic, and Nordic peoples only. Anyone else is not welcome in this supposed future ethno-state. And this group doesn't believe in the electoral system and believes in achieving their goal by force. Another thing about the Parkland shooter that the mainstream media didn't tell you is that he was reported to the authorities multiple times. He was often going around in comment sections talking about shooting up schools, and another thing, I've heard reports of as many as 4 police officers being on the Parkland campus when the shooting took place, and they deliberately did nothing. Meanwhile, that reminds me of like Columbine, because I read that the Columbine shooting, which I'm too young to remember, by the way, there were police officers or some kind of security present on campus when the shooting took place, yet nothing was done about it. And another mass shooter with Asperger's was the Sandy Hook shooter, who, when I was in high school when that happened, senior year actually, and when it came out that he had Asperger's, they were the mainstream media was pointing fingers at video games and other sorts of quote-unquote violent mass media. But it later came out from a relative of the Lanza family that Adam Lanza attended that school as a child and was bullied at that school to the point where he'd come home with black and blue bruises, and later it came out that he had a horrible home life, and his mom was even considering suing the school at one point. But that doesn't make what he did right. So long story short, as somebody with Asperger's, I get highly offended when somebody with Asperger's commits a violent act and then the media points the fingers at video games, anime, certain movies, certain music genres, and so forth. But on a more positive note, I finished the book that I took my hiatus to work on. It is 417 pages and roughly 159,000 words. I'm still not revealing the premise of this book because I do not want trolls taking my intellectual property and claiming it as their own. I have revealed the title of my book on Twitter multiple times, but all I'm going to say about the book is that A, it's set in a medieval fantasy world that I created, and B, the main protagonist is a girl. That's all I'm revealing. I don't have much else to say about the recent school shootings in America, but one more thing before I go. The Parkland students started a walkout to protest the gun violence, and now high schoolers all over the country are doing school walkouts to protest gun violence. And Great Mills High School actually did one a week before the shooting took place, and I commend them for doing that. It's the students' lives who are at risk, and unfortunately there have been a lot of parents who are more concerned about their gun rights than their students' right to human life. And I don't have much else to say, but I fully support the student walkouts across the country. And I hope to have more videos up in the coming weeks. And that is it for today, folks. Peace.